Hi everyone, and welcome to this afternoon's session on how to stay secure online. Now, today is not only St Andrew's Day, but it's also National Computer Security Day. And this day aims to raise awareness of cybersecurity issues and the importance of online security, and to highlight what you as individuals and business owners can do to secure your online activity. So for many small businesses, your size and limited resources can make it hard to prioritise actions to protect your business from cyber attack. However, it's never been more important to do so. And the good news is that there are some quick and simple actions that you can take to start to protect your business. So this webinar is led by a panel of experts who's going to offer valuable discussion, insights, and top tips into recognising potential threats, securing your data and personal information, and reinforcing the importance of protecting your business and your customers online. So in a minute, I'm going to introduce our panel, but first I just want to cover some general housekeeping for us all. So this session is being recorded and it will be made available afterwards, so you can come back to it and revisit and have a listen again. You've all been placed on mute to avoid any background noise. If you do have any questions, you can submit them via the portal, and then we'll come to them if we can. And if there's anything that's not covered during the discussion that you'd like to know more about, there will be a follow-up, and you can also contact Business Gateway directly. So I am Sarah Johnson, and I'm Director of IndigoLeap, and I'm hosting today, and I'm joined here by Mike Smith and Kirstie Steele from the Scottish Business Resilience Centre, and Michael Cairns from Celsius Plumbing. And I'm going to hand over to you guys so you can introduce yourselves. So Mike, do you want to tell us a little bit about what you do?
Yeah, sure. My name's Mike Smith. I work at the Scottish Business Resilience Centre, and I'm the Incident Response and Threat Intelligence Manager here. So I manage the UK's first incident response line, and also work on threat intelligence provided from various sources. So that's me.
Brilliant, thank you. And Kirstie?
Hi everybody, good afternoon. My name is Kirstie Steele. So I'm the CyberScotland community lead, and I work with Mike at the Scottish Business Resilience Centre. So we basically provide organisations with lots of different tools and knowledge to support them on being more resilient both on and offline. My role is within the CyberScotland partnership, which is a collaboration of key organisations that are working together to improve Scotland's cyber resilience. And my role within that is to help build the cyber resilience through a range of engagement and educational activities.
Perfect. And Michael?
Yes, hello everyone. My name is Michael Cairns. I'm the director and owner of a plumbing firm in Edinburgh called Celsius Plumbing and Heating. Thanks for introducing me as an expert, Sarah. I've recently became a bit of an expert in cyber security after we experienced quite a significant hack on our website and reached out to Business Gateway for support. And so today, hopefully, I can share some of our experience to potentially help others.
Perfect. This all sounds brilliant. So we do have some questions here, and if any questions come in, we can tackle them when they come in. But first of all, I think just to start off, it would be great if you guys could explain some of the terms that we use here. So cybersecurity, cyber resilience, cyber attack, etc. What do these all actually mean? And if I can pop that to you guys at the Scottish Business Resilience Centre, that would be great.
I can take this one, Mike. So yeah, you've mentioned a few terms there, so I think probably it's best if I make a definition of like kind of each of them and how they sort of link in together. So we'll start with cyber attack, and what that is. It's basically when someone maliciously tries to cause damage or disrupt or gain unauthorized access to your devices or online accounts. So examples of that might be deleting a database and maybe stealing a copy of it at the same time, or it might be preventing users to access certain parts of your website, or it might be trying to trick you into revealing things through phishing attacks and stealing your information through a login form. So the types of cyber attacks will basically impact your technology. It'll interrupt your computer systems, your IT networks, and your devices that we all use, like our laptops and phones and tablets. And the key term there is it's a malicious, basically, disruption. So the cybersecurity part of it is about how do we protect those devices, and it's about reducing the risk to becoming a victim of those attacks. And its core function in cybersecurity is to protect those devices. And that also has a benefit in terms of wider business resilience as well. So if having good cybersecurity in place will help protect you in other sort of circumstances, maybe through floods or fires or break-ins and that type of thing as well. And when it comes to cyber resilience, this is about surviving and thriving when that protection fails. So it's basically, how are you able to withstand, respond and recover from a cyber attack? So how are you able to continue to operate regardless of the types of attacks or technical failures that you do? So those are the kind of three main things and definitions around them. I hope that helps to kind of set the scene a little bit.
That really does. That's really interesting. Thank you. And what are the most common types of cyber threats that are happening today? Mike, could you take that one?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, I think we're probably all aware of phishing. It comes in on our personal emails, it comes in on our business emails, and the majority of the time it's our email providers, etc., that manage to filter out most of the stuff. But phishing is without a doubt the biggest problem at the minute. But it's the knock-on effect thereafter, especially for business. Whilst personally it might be horrible to lose all your photos or access to all your emails, etc., or access to your banking, but for business, etc., if you just imagine not being able to access your data or your HR systems going down. So yeah, I'd say phishing is probably the biggest problem, but it's the knock-on effects thereafter. For example, business email compromise, which we've seen a lot of, ransomware incidents whereby companies are held to ransom unless they pay some money, usually cryptocurrency, or sometimes it's just the fact that once there's been access gained, they will just download the data and then just say, listen, we will release this unless you pay the ransom. So I think phishing in the first instance is probably the biggest problem that we're all aware of.
Sorry, just to ask a simple question, what actually is phishing? Like, what is phishing? Is that when somebody's kind of emailing you under pretense to try and gain access?
Yeah, it's essentially sending a fake email trying to direct you to do something or click on a link. So, for example, you get, we failed to deliver a parcel. Please click here to reschedule it, and you click on it thinking you're going to the Royal Mail or you're going to DPD, and then usually probably nothing happens, and then there's someone in your computer system or on your laptop, for example, if you're just a user. And these are often seasonal. For example, I don't doubt that over the next period there's going to be a lot of delivery scams, or ones like I just mentioned, the delivery one. During COVID, there was lots of furlough scheme ones, or there was bounce back loans, or you were due money. So the threat actors and the criminals behind these, they do understand that, well, as I say, it's almost seasonal or topical. If there's something going on, for example, when it was COVID, as I say, it was furlough scheme, bounce back loan scheme. So, or it might be relevant to the company itself if it's a wee bit more targeted. But on the whole, these things, if it's just a normal phishing campaign, these are sent out in their tens of millions every day. But thankfully, the internet service providers, etc., do a good job at weeding most of these out.
Perfect. And what are the other biggest threats? So we've got phishing. Is there any other kind of more common threats that that businesses need to worry about?
Businesses, I think at the minute, as I mentioned earlier, well, in fact, I'd say investment scams. For personal ones, I think crypto investment scams are a big problem. We're getting calls to the SBRC incident response line, people that are receiving a Facebook message or jumping on a Facebook page and investing ridiculous amounts of money, personally ridiculous amounts of money in crypto investment scams. When it comes to business email compromise, as the name suggests, a compromised email which gains access to the system or gains access to, say, a more senior member of staff's email address, and they can then email the finance to say, listen, can you pay this bill, or there's been a change in our banking. So business email compromise, which is essentially just a more technical version of fraud, is what we're seeing at the minute.
We've actually just had a question in. Julia's asked, where do people report such things? So if you are getting these, do we need to report them if we're getting kind of phishing attempts? Or if you've fallen for one, where would people report that to?
I can probably answer that one, Mike. So I think internally, first of all, in your own business, it's good to report it to your IT team, because some people will report it as like spam in their email filters, but actually that's not reporting the incident. So making the IT team aware first of all in your own company, if you've got that benefit to do that, then certainly report it to them, and they can keep an eye out for any of the similar emails that are coming in with those email addresses and block them. But also, secondly, there's the National Cyber Security Centre, who are the UK's authority for cyber security in the UK. You can report phishing emails or malicious emails and texts and websites to the National Cyber Security Centre. They've got a takedown service, so you can forward the email to report@phishing.gov.uk, and basically they'll assess and have a look at it, and if it is deemed malicious, then they'll remove it so that it protects a lot of other people. And that's been a huge success that they launched that within the last year or so, and I think they've had about 14 million people report emails to them, and managed to take down lots of phishing activity in response to that. So definitely encourage people to, it's an easy thing just to forward the email to that email address, and it can be basically dealt with and taken a look at.
Perfect. And how big an issue are cyber threats in Scotland? Is this something that's a growing threat to businesses? Or is it a thing that we all need to worry about? Like, how big an issue are cyber threats? If somebody at SBRC again.
Who did we say again, Kirstie?
We probably both could pitch into it. So,
yeah.
So, well, obviously, you know, Mike can probably do it from more of a kind of local level, as he's still dealing with calls that are coming through. And we have an incident response helpline, so people can kind of phone us if they're experiencing a cyber incident. And as Mike will tell you, you know, that phone is ringing, so it shows that there is still a sort of threat here within Scotland. But I think maybe having a look at sort of the wider picture of it as well. So obviously we're aware that there's been the war in sort of with Russia invasion of Ukraine, that there's a lot of basically the cyber threat is heightened currently at a stage. This is what's been declared by the National Cyber Security Centre. So their position is to encourage all organisations in the UK to strengthen their online defences. And that's not necessarily anything linked directly to this you know, situation that's happening, but it's just most of the activity could be part of you know, collateral damage within UK organisations. So we had the CEO of the National Cyber Security Centre at an event that we hosted just last month, and she was encouraging all Scottish businesses basically to strengthen and get some really good basics in place so that they're prepared to deal with any incident should they happen. So it's a good advice, I would say, at the moment, definitely to have those sort of basics in place and be as prepared as you can be, and support people through this sort of heightened period. But the good news is obviously there is lots of easy advice and actionable guidance, and I'm sure we'll point to some of that later on in the webinar, but maybe Mike can describe it more from his point, like more locally.
Yeah, we are getting calls in from businesses and from individuals, and you know, to say this is the cyber threat an issue in Scotland, I think just if you have organised criminals whose main incentive is to make money or defraud people, then you're going to have crime. To say it's heightened in any state is, you know, we moved on years ago from cheque frauds to bank card frauds to, and as I said, now we've mentioned business email compromise. So it's just a change in arena, really, in terms of how criminality is changing. Our office is getting broken into, probably not as much now. People would just rather hack into them and pay someone to do it, you know. So yeah, the cyber landscape, there's a cyber threat landscape is probably changing slightly or developing slightly as technology develops. We've got the onset of AI coming now pretty swiftly, which again will bring its own challenges as well. But no, the cyber threat, there's certainly no intel in terms of Scotland that we've have to look out for or, you know, specifically address at the minute.
Thanks, guys. And Michael, as a small business owner, how confident do you feel that your online presence and your customers' online presence are protected?
Yeah, it's really important, isn't it? As Mike Kirstie's alluded to, it's something as a business owner that it might not be at the forefront of your mind because you're busy working in the business or on the business, and cybersecurity, that happens to big organisations. That's what they need to think about. I'm just a small business. Nobody's ever going to come and try and get into our data, but it does happen. Like only yesterday, I received one of those phishing emails trying to say like, we've changed our bank details, so click open this link and let's get it paid. So we've had to do some training around to our staff to say, well, if something is suspected to be phishing, it probably is. So best not open it, forward it on, or raise an awareness to a senior member of the team, and then let's just check it out. And if in doubt, just delete it and delete it permanently, or report it, of course. But yeah, it is majorly important.
Tell us a little bit about the cyber attack that you suffered.
Yeah, we never knew about it. So our business has been going now 15 years, and for about 12 of those years, we never had a website. We're a small business. We got a lot of our business through word of mouth. We had the usual sort of Google Maps listings and Facebook, but website was something that was always at the sort of, it was an idea we sort of wanted to do, but we never got the time to do it. COVID was the perfect time for us to do it. People were sitting at home with a lot more time, so we took the opportunity to do that. We paired up with a web developer who built a website for us, and the look of the website was great, the functionality was great, but there were certain things that weren't so great. And as a small business owner, I didn't fully understand the basics of websites and where do I gain access. All I was happy with was, I've got a website, oh look, the phone's ringing now. We were getting inquiries coming through. So we spent a lot of time during COVID developing the website, building the website, and it was working brilliant for us. We were like, wow, this is tremendous. We can bring on more people on the team. We're certainly, we can see our sales increase. But yeah, sort of early this year, we sort of seen that the amount of inquiries coming through the website slowing down, the amount of phone calls coming to the office slowing down, and we reached out to Business Gateway because we thought at first, well, great that we've got a website that looks nice and we've got some good functionality, but if nobody's finding it really now, we need to work on our SEO. So that's what I thought I was doing when I picked up the phone to Business Gateway. And so did the chap who helped me. I got in touch with a guy called John Taylor from JT Projects through Business Gateway, and it was actually John. I was in a meeting, my phone kept ringing off the hook. So many missed calls from John Taylor, so I phoned him back and he's like, I need to get you on now. Your website's been hacked. I need to show you what's going on. And when we reported this to our web developers, they were not aware of any of this. Everything that they said from their end was, you've not been hacked. It's not happening. I don't know where this is coming from. Turns out a very simple tool, and Google being the headmaster of the internet, really, they were telling us for a long time, look, there's some suspicious activity on your website. We suggest you get it fixed. But because our web developers and I certainly never knew about Google Search Console, which is something anybody can Google right now, Google Search Console, and it's basically, they're doing the work for you. They're telling you if there's suspicious activity on your website. And what was suspicious with our website was we all of a sudden very, very quickly went from a website of about 40 pages to about 10,000 pages. Now, these website pages weren't visible on our website. That's why our web team didn't know anything about it. But when you looked at Google Search Console, it was as plain as day. There was URLs being created with Celsius Plumbers / any subject that you can think of, we had a web page for it. And that directly affected our performance in our SEO. And that's why over a gradual period of time, our phone stopped ringing, because Google just didn't trust us. They said, we're telling you about this, you're not doing anything about it, we're not going to stick you on page one. So we had a lot of work to do. And Business Gateway were tremendous helping us with that. And we're still recovering right now.
That's really interesting. And it's the little things that you're unaware of it happening, and then all of a sudden that's what's happened. Mike, are there any telltale signs that small businesses should look for? So obviously that was your inquiry started drying up. Are there any kind of telltale signs to look for that that you maybe have been the victim of a cyber attack? Oh, sorry, Mike, we can't hear you.
Sorry, in terms of the website takeover, yeah, I mean, you had Google there that was supporting you. Yeah, you would normally see a lot more odd traffic coming and going. But then again, if you've paid a developer a one-off to just create a website for you, you're really not, unless you've got additional paid services, you probably wouldn't even see that. And that wasn't uncommon years ago that was used for child protection or sharing of images, etc. So, yeah, but yeah, it's used equally as much for criminality or just creating false URLs. Another thing as well is and I know it's more difficult nowadays to try and grab as many domains that are similar to you, mikesmith.com, for example. And it used to be that even 10 years ago there was only a handful of top-level domains that people wanted, but now you've got so many different types of domains that would be silly. But just to watch out that no one's emailing, using your email address, .org instead of a .co.uk. So, but yeah, common signs. Yeah, I mean things like your email going down, or one other thing as well is in terms of business email compromise. A lot of the time, if there has been a compromise on email, there'll be nothing done in the first instance. But forwarding rules will be put on, for example, to forward all emails to this person, and once it's been forwarded, to delete it. So it's just every now and again. I've never spoken to anyone I know that actually checks their forwarding rules, but yeah, just having a look now and again to see if there's any rules being put on Office 365, for example, see if anything's getting forwarded, see if there's any odd stuff in your deleted items, things like that, emails that you don't remember sending, or sent items as well, for example, it would delete them after it's been sent. So that's fairly common in things like business email compromise, where they can sometimes sit for 3 months watching just the terminology, the way that people speak. So instead of saying, hi, Mike, if you start every email with just Mike, then that's the way it would be. If you don't say thanks, if you just put Mike at the end. So yeah, as I say, we're dealing with a lot of the time organised criminals. So there's a lot of thought and a lot of homework done into a lot of these things.
And then what would your top tips be for managing online security and building cyber resilience? Like, is there anything that small businesses can put in place easily? And we've also had a user question which ties in perfectly with this, asking for free resources that can be used. So it's in terms of what can small businesses do easily, and are there any free resources that we can use? Kirstie.
Yeah, I'll do that one. So with our website, CyberScotland.com, we have like 17 different partners that have come together and pulled resources and tools and tips, all to support small businesses and charities across Scotland. And we've got an advice and guidance tab that people can go to. And the first sort of tab is about getting the basics right. And that's something that Mike and I always sort of really emphasize to people. And these are basically 5 key kind of steps that you can look at about preparing your backups, turning on good password protection on your accounts, and installing a sort of multi-factor or 2-step verification on your accounts so that it protects people from gaining access to your accounts and your devices. So the National Cyber Security Centre have got a small business guide specifically tailored for small businesses to put in those basic steps and have a look at it. And a lot of them are low cost or free to sort of get started with. So that's my sort of always go-to kind of thing to begin with for preparing small businesses. And then you can take it a step further as well. So if you're really wanting to sort of look at your cyber security, there's a government-backed scheme called Cyber Essentials, which basically is a set of questions that you can go through as a business owner and basically compare what your cybersecurity standard is to this certification level. And once you kind of complete that standard, you feel that you're in a much better position there to deal and respond to Cyber Essentials and to those cyber attacks as well. So, I mean, from SBRC's perspective, we've been creating lots of different tools and guides, and we've got an introduction to cybersecurity. It's a free guide on our website. It's on the front page of CyberScotland.com as well, that businesses can kind of take a look at and get a bit of an introduction, go through the basics, and hopefully get those steps into place. But a lot of them are fairly easy and straightforward to do. The thing with passwords and two-step verification are like still some of the key steps that businesses can take, as well as making sure that you have good backups in place as well, should anything go wrong, that you can restore from those good resources.
Okay, and sorry, just to clarify, backups is that of all of your emails, or is that of like your systems?
Yeah. Data, email, systems, anything that you can sort of back up and restore. So there's certain rules within, or good practice, I guess, within backups, is to have a physical copy of it, and whether that's like on a hard drive or a CD drive, and possibly a copy of it that's off-site as well, so like not within your business, connected to your servers or your networks. So that could be online, it could be on the cloud, it could be somewhere else. But there's good advice linked within the National Cybersecurity Centre's website to go through those sort of setting up those backups and testing that they actually work, because when a lot of companies or organisations get hit by cybersecurity and they get say, for example, if it was a ransomware attack and your computer was completely wiped out, a lot of people are building from scratch again. So having those backups to restore and get their business up and running again quicker is vital. And at SBRC and CyberScotland, we've created things that help businesses prepare for cyber incidents and making sure that they've got these things in place. And we've got an incident response pack that we have that's got these templates and guides and documents that you can fill out in your own time and make sure that you're prepared. Again, these are linked on our CyberScotland website, and I'm sure I can pass the links on to share in the emails at the end, so that everybody's got it. But that's something that, again, that we always try and push to get people to prepare those in advance and test out that they work.
Perfect. We have had a couple of questions in for you, Michael, just in terms of your experience of having your actual website hacked. What was the root cause of that? How did they manage to hack your website, or was something missing on your website setup? How were they able to do that?
Yeah, good question actually. So when we first heard from John Taylor to say the website being hacked, we straight away were thinking, oh my God, like is our customers' data being compromised? Like, where have they got into? Luckily for us, that wasn't the case. It was just they managed to get in through technical for me actually, but they managed to get through an upload of attachments. So if you wanted to upload something to our website, if you're a customer through our booking form, you could upload a picture. There was something in that, but it wasn't a physical human being doing it. It was bots, and the sort of simplest way they explained it to me was it was a bit of a drive-by shooting. They've just came past, they've seen an opportunity, and they went for it. And only when we realised that our phone calls were going down did we then join the dots after thinking about our SEO. That was the root cause of it. Since being in touch with Business Gateway, I'd highly recommend anybody who's maybe thinking about just, well, am I doing things right, or how could I get some help? There was something through Business Gateway called Digital Boost, and we were able to access, I think it was about 16 hours of help from a Digital Boost advisor, and we were just fortunate enough to be put in touch with John Taylor from JT Projects, and we still now deal with John Taylor on a monthly basis. We actually contract John independently because we don't want that to happen to us again. The good news is the things that we've put in place that's so simple is I've now got a login for my Google Analytics, my Google Search Console. It's quite a complicated thing to do if you're not really that tech savvy. So definitely getting help from Business Gateway or somebody with a bit of savvy to do that. And we now have alerts set up. So if we do have anything going on our website, I'm getting emailed to it. And straight away I'm saying to our web guys who are looking after the website, and John, what's going on here? How do we fix this? The the hard work that's been put in, we are now seeing our business return to page 1 of Google, and our sales are increasing and the telephone calls are going, and it's really encouraging, because yeah, we weren't aware of it, and I'm so glad I decided one day just to pick up the phone to Business Gateway. Otherwise, we might have been sitting in a situation not knowing any different. So yeah, highly recommend it.
We are getting another couple of questions in. Julia had asked, what do we mean with, I think when we were talking about, just after we spoke about your issue, Mike, we mentioned that there is like .org and .uk versions of your website. So it's just trying to explain what that is, and like, can you use them if you can? Do you need to pay for them, or do people, if you've not paid for them, can other people use them?
So these are essentially just website addresses, the same as any address. As I said, historically it was mostly .co.uk, .org, .com, etc. But there's now loads and loads of different endings you can have on them, .website and a whole load of daft stuff. So, but I mean, the advice previously was try to grab as many of these as you can if you're a small business starting out, and then at least you had a bit more control. However, all it takes is people to put a hyphen in, but it's, I suppose, for the other side of it, not from the business whose business it is, it's actually for the end user who may be a customer, customers, for example, to understand that, you know, mikesmith.com doesn't have a hyphen in it. So the person that you're dealing with is at mikesmith.com and not mike-smith.com, which is all down to, and we promote this in the SBRC, is training and understanding and staff training. You know, if we take instant response, for example, it's just making sure that people are up to speed with what is phishing, or do they understand it, and rather than hold them to account should something go wrong, people need to, the staff need to feel confident and not pushed into it, think, you know what, I do know what I'm talking about here. I think I am going to be able to suss one of these out. And as I say, most software nowadays it manages it quite well. Just in relation to what Michael was saying there, in relation to websites, there's also been a huge push more and more for businesses to go online, but on social media as well. Now, a website you control, although most of the time you control it, and also your own files or your own data you control within the business. But account takeovers for social media is proven problematic as well for businesses. And there are some businesses who don't even have websites, or who don't even have anything else other. They manage the whole thing, their advertising, etc., all through social media. So just be very careful. A lot of times there is only one admin set up. I've dealt with a few incidents here, and also a close friend of mine who had their account, and they actually had about 4 or 5 businesses attached to their social media account. So overnight there was no access whatsoever. And whilst I'm sure the social media companies promote that they will do everything that they can to help, I have to say that one that was reported to Police Scotland and to ourselves, it must be 6 or 7 months now that the person's not had access to. So that please make sure that you have, if you are running a business on social media, it's as important as if you have your own website, to make sure that your security is in place. And these platforms, they do have security built in, 2-factor authentication, for example. So, but yeah, it's a single point of failure, or it could be a single point of failure for a business if you only have one admin or one login, or you don't have 2FA set up.
And so is that what you could do to try and secure, like if you're setting up a website, or if you're setting up your social presence for your business, what steps could you actually take to try and secure them? So if we're talking about social there, so what steps could we take to kind of secure our social, and what steps do you need to take to kind of, if you're starting a new website, how could you secure that a little bit better to try and ward off these types of attack?
Well, when it comes to social media, I mean, Kirstie's, it's been mentioned a few times, you know, well, good passwords in the first instance. I know we're trying to move away from passwords and single sign-on, for example, but we're still, you know, they are still, the username and the password is still a lot of the time the way that we log in. So good passwords. The NCSC and CyberScotland partnership promote 3 random words. Personally, I think there's just a wee bit more required from that. It might be the case of 3 random words have got a space in between them, or a number attached to them, or just a wee bit more. And there is no way, well, the rule's always been 1 password, 1 site, which puts the fear of death into people when you say that, but these have to be managed, and a password manager is probably the best. It's without a doubt my most logged into piece of software on my phone and on my computer. First thing I do is log into it. So a password manager to manage these passwords. They might be a step too far for some people, but most of the time they're built into phones. So Apple, for example, or you have your browser that will say to you, do you want to save this password? So yeah, good passwords in the first instance. Two-step verification or multi-step verification. Again, it's just an additional step, an additional piece of information that you have to put in, and it's usually a text message, which is slightly more insecure, or an app on your phone, Authy or Google Authenticator, for example, that will just give you a code that you can put in. It is slightly fiddly when you're doing things on your phone, but I think if it's just for personal use, okay, maybe a decent password. But when it comes to business, as I say, if you're running your business on social media, you've got, you're selling on social media, etc., that you really need to make sure things are secure. It's a business after all, and that's what's bringing in your money.
No, that's true. We're also getting a couple of questions about specifics. So somebody's saying that they use a shared OneDrive to store their files. How secure is that? Sorry.
Yeah, just quickly, Kirstie, you were about to, it's only secure as the password and the two-factor authentication that's set up, is it? It's also only secure as the last time it was backed up. So yeah, it kind of goes back to what the last conversation was. They know how secure their password is, or if they do have additional security set up on it. So yeah,
it's all risk management there, isn't it? It's like, so what kind of files is it that they're storing on it? Are they worried that that would be, sensitive information because they might want to take extra steps to encrypt that folder with an additional password or something within it? It's all balancing the risk, because you want things to be easy for people to kind of access and use, and shared drives are a good thing to do. That's how you operate as well. But it's just what types of the files and what information is within that. Can you restrict people as well within your company? Not everybody needs to have access to all of the files, for example. Maybe it's just certain folders that they can do. So there's certain little restrictions that they can make that would make things a bit more secure. And I just wanted to jump in from what Mike was saying. I know that we were drilling on about choosing good passwords and two-factor authentication, but that actually is what it comes down to. A lot of the time, people don't realise that having strong passwords, including longer, stronger passwords, and that two-step verification can prevent a lot of the basic cyber attacks from happening to your accounts. And that's where we're saying it's like really, it's as simple as choosing strong ones that are different for each of your accounts. So I know it seems like such an easy thing, but actually a lot of people choose really easy to guess passwords. And that's our issue, where people are picking things that are related to them or their hobbies, or clubs that they enjoy, so they're easy to guess. So it's trying to make it as difficult as possible, that if I didn't know anything about you, that I wouldn't be able to guess your password, and I couldn't get it within 10 questions maybe. So it's not like your family member's name or something to do with your company or anything like that.
So we really are saying that passwords are essentially like having good locks on your doors and windows.
Absolutely, and that two-step part where you have to have that additional piece of security. So not just the password, you have to have either a code that's sent to your phone, or you verify it via a fingerprint or a face scan or something extra, is given that extra layer of protection. Because what it does is, even if I did guess your password, like if I knew what that was, I still would be out of your account, because I don't have that additional security step there. I don't have access to your phone to get that number, or I don't have access to the email to verify that link, or whatever the two-step is. So yeah, that's kind of where we're like, having that second factor is easy to do, it's free, and you just have to switch it on a lot of the time in your accounts, because it's not turned on by default in a lot of the social media channels. So it's just going into the security settings within those accounts and making sure that it's turned on.
Okay, we are getting another couple of questions in on passwords. So somebody's asking about the password manager. So we've already said that, Mike, that's your most used app on your phone. But are there any risks associated with storing all of your passwords in one place? Because I know that is something that people kind of worry about. Like, if you've got all your passwords in one place, does that then make that one place more of a risk? Or is that not something that we should worry about? Does the kind of risk outweigh the benefit of using them?
Yeah, it's always a question that comes up when you mention password managers, is what happens if the password manager company gets hacked. And I suppose that is a concern. People seem to have no problem filling social media with all their private and personal information. They do it all day long, posting pictures from food to children, posting their children's dates of birth online when they congratulate them with happy birthday. And they seem to have faith in these companies that, well, I don't know if they do, I think they know that a lot of it's going to be going. But yeah, a password manager, again, these are managed by large companies who, on the whole, are secure. There was a breach of one of them about 2 months ago. However, it wasn't a breach into the password vault. It was just a different area. But yeah, I think there comes a point where you just have to stop, maybe, and I know we sort of say in the cyber world, sort of be skeptical a lot of the time, and don't trust everything that you see. But I mean, yeah, you have to trust some of the software. You wouldn't be able to run a company if you didn't trust the software that was running it. And there was a good quote the other day there. Someone said, "Stop buying security software. Stop continually buying security software and buy software that's secure." Just slow down a bit and just make sure you get the right software for your company, instead of getting add-ons here or someone trying to sell you additional this that will do this and that. So, and like a password manager, there are a handful, there are sort of top 10 companies that are Googleable, if that's a word. And yeah, you can just pick for yourself or look for feedback.
I'd like to add to that. So I'm a big advocate of a password manager as well. I've been using one for over 10 years and I've got all my family to use them as well. So the thing to note about a password manager is different from writing your passwords down in a note, like say on your phone, because the password manager is a security tool and it uses a form of encryption within that app itself. So therefore, the only way that people can access your information within that password manager is your one long password to get into it. So you have to set a password to lock your device. So imagine it a bit like a big safe or a big vault where only you have the access to that key to get into those files. And it means that it is encrypted, so nobody can access it unless they have that password. So that's where we say, make sure that it's protected by a really long, strong one that nobody is going to guess. And the benefit of having password managers is you only have to remember one password, and that's the one to get you into your account. Because once you're in there, all of your other accounts and information is all listed, so you can just quickly go and check. So it saves people a lot of the time reusing passwords, which is where we see the issue with that. But also password managers and certain ones can actually generate and create them for you when you sign up for new accounts and stuff. So it saves a lot of the thinking behind, having to come up with the ideas of creating those strong passwords as well. So it's got the good security behind it. There are some things to look out for within password managers that some companies probably won't want you to store them in a password manager. So I think some banks are quite similar to that, where if you store your information within that and it does get leaked, then there's some sort of they've got some sort of legal clause there. So it's just checking. But most of the time, storing all your other general passwords and saves you having to remember them all. It's the easiest thing to sort of do, as long as you've got a good strong one within to get into that account.
Perfect.
I was just going to say, it can also stop you becoming the victim of phishing as well. For example, when we're talking about phishing and the number of emails getting sent, if you do fall for a phishing email that's directing you to Amazon, say personally, or say SagePay for a business, and your SagePay username and password is saved within your password manager, if it's not filling it in, or if it looks different, or if it's not pushing you to fill in, you know that you've been sent or you've been redirected to a different site. So it can also stop you being the victim of phishing as well.
That's a really good tip, actually. That's a good one. Thank you. I'll note that down myself. Somebody else is asking, how important is it to change the default password on your router? So we were talking about our passwords and all of the kind of the platforms and things that we use, but what are the actual routers that we use to get onto the internet?
Definitely to reset them as well. So most routers will come with the password as 0000 or admin, and their default usually when they give you them. Some routers, when you do get them, do have a wee bit more complex passwords, but I would suggest probably going into the accounts for them and making it a stronger password, 3 random words is the best thing. But yeah, if people can access, they have to kind of be in your area to kind of access that router, possibly be on the same network. But yeah, it's definitely worth resetting, changing the default on all devices that you receive. So that includes, you know, your smart cameras and your TV or any sort of internet connected devices, because they could be linked to anything else. So yeah, the harder you make it, the better.
Okay, perfect. And on kind of our internet connection, somebody else is asking about VPNs, and Richard's asked, should we use a VPN? And if we do, which one is a good one for all of your devices? So like a laptop, a phone, and a notepad.
I'm not going to promote any particular. Yeah, I'm not going to promote any particular company here. I mean, VPNs. Yep, we've been using VPNs for some time now, and I mean, if you've got the data on your phone, your phone data is pretty secure, and if you have taken the steps that Kirstie said and changed your password at home on your router, it's probably fairly secure. I think the need for VPNs, and it depends up to your company policy, as some of them won't allow you to connect to open Wi-Fi. It really comes in if you are connecting to open Wi-Fi, if you're out and about, if you're in a cafe. But there are, like the password manager, there are a lot of main players in the VPN arena that you can check out what it is that they offer. Password managers as well, when it comes to business, there's obviously enterprise editions, but for members of the public, and here a lot of times there are family accounts as well that offer, say, 4 devices or 4 or 5 people for 7 or 8 quid. So they are fairly cost effective if you think what it is they're going to be doing. And VPNs are very much the same. We've probably just missed our Cyber Monday deals when it comes to VPNs, because some of these companies offer huge discounts. But if you are buying, it's probably a good time at the minute. But yeah, they do create a secure connection. So if you are jumping on Wi-Fi in a cafe, for example, then you'd have a secure connection. Not that we would say go and do your banking if you're sitting in a cafe. It's maybe not something. Just stick to social media. But as I say, it might be the case that your business says, listen, we don't want you connecting to insecure Wi-Fi anyway.
Okay. So another question about password manager. Are we talking about things like Apple's keychain? Is that a kind of password manager that you can use, or do you need to kind of use different different tools to the ones that you would have access to?
No, Apple Keychain is a provider of password manager. Yeah, essentially it's a password manager, a more basic one that's provided by Apple. So yeah, the NCSC guidance, actually, I said it was to use a password manager. It's actually to save your password in the browser. They did start off about 3 or 4 years ago and changed it to use a password manager, and I think it ended up having questions and discussions like this. People were a bit baffled by what it was. So when you do go to a website and you put your username and password, then usually it does alert you and say, do you want to save this? So they were saying, well, hold on a second, that's pretty secure if people are saving it that way. At least they're not using poor passwords. You know, if they use strong passwords and save them locally in their browser, then fair enough.
As long as you're not on a shared computer.
Yeah, as long as you're not in a cafe.
Yeah. So obviously for your own personal devices and your own login, but if it's like a shared computer that you use, obviously that wouldn't be recommended to share it there, because the next person that logs in would be able to log in as you as well.
Perfect.
I think as we're speaking to the business gateway and our chats around business, is that, you know, business and pleasure really shouldn't mix. A business, even an SME, even a micro business, if there's only a couple of employees, they shouldn't be getting family, kids, etc., to be jumping on the laptop that they use for work, especially if there's passwords, if there's work stuff, etc. So spend a few quid and make sure that you buy kit for work and only for work, and put some policies in place as well regarding that.
Okay. Michael, I wanted to ask you, you mentioned earlier about staff training. So you'd had a phishing email just the other day, and you mentioned that you kind of, because of staff training, what type of training have you done with your staff after your website hacking?
Yeah, so the email phishing one's been a few years actually, and it's just to try and recognise if something looks a bit suspicious. So we try and we have a database which is 2-step verification, separate. It's a company called Big Change, and straight away we hold our customer data on that, and you can search web addresses. Is this a recognised web address? So doing some simple things like going onto our database, do we recognise that email address? No, we don't. Yes, we do. Then searching for any past emails that maybe came from that user. Oh, look, there's a bit of a history here. There's been conversations back and forward. Yeah, that you probably can trust that then, because we've been dealing with that person for a number of years. So the thing with the hyphens in between and people impersonating you, that happens. That does happen. So it's just being aware of that as well. Like if I'm sending emails and it doesn't sound like my type of terminology, or I'm asking people and it's a bit weird, the team just sort of reach out on maybe like a phone call or WhatsApp and say, is this you? Are you sending me this email? I'm like, not me. So let's not do that.
Okay.
So yeah, they're used to it. They see it and they can recognise it, which is obviously safe and for me to know that they're doing the right thing.
Perfect. And yeah, I think it's key, isn't it? It's having everybody on board with all of this. Everybody who's going to touch it. We've had a couple of questions about kind of first things that you should do. So say you lost your laptop or your phone or something like that. Is that a cyber risk, and what is the first thing that you should do? Mike, do you want to take that one? Oh, sorry, you're on mute again.
Sorry, I've got a wee device here. Yeah, hopefully we've covered passwords and 2FA, etc. That, you know, you would have some security in place. If it is going to be a business phone, then hopefully there's a policy in place to say, listen, you know, you have to have a password or a passcode that's got 6 numbers in it. Exactly the same for when you're logging into your laptop. So hopefully if your laptop fell into the wrong hands, that also lends itself well into the cloud services. You know, Kirstie mentioned Office 365. You know, Office 365 Business has 2-step verification that's just that is built in, or it's a click away. You can set it up fairly simply. At least you know that if you do lose your laptop, then you can lock it down fairly quickly by going into the control panel. So Google's the same. They've got Google Workplaces, etc., that can support businesses. So there are business tools. And some people sometimes ask, how much is it to get cyber security, you know, for a company, especially for an SME or a micro business. And actually, some of the main products from the bigger providers have security fairly well built in. If you just have to make sure that you understand how it works, how to set it up. And if you need a hand setting up, then there are companies that can do that. Perfect.
And is it worth having cyber insurance for a small business to cover you in the event of a cyber attack? Michael, is that something that you guys had?
No, it's not something that we had. We don't have it at all, to be honest. The steps that we've taken now, getting the right people on our side, is probably the most encouraging thing for us. We'll prevent it before it happens now, really. Cyber Essentials was mentioned earlier on. That's something we've taken advantage of as well. I think at the time it was you paid out. It was about £800, but you got it back in a grant form. So that might still be available. It's well worth reaching out to your local business gateway advisor. If you don't have one, reaching out to Business Gateway to be put in touch with a gateway advisor. The biggest thing for us really is we've spoke about the technical side of it. It's the human side of it. It's the emotional side of it. It's the business owner being responsible for so many people to pay mortgages, and especially this time of year with Christmas coming on, and it's almost putting yourself in those shoes to say, well, what if that happened? What would be the impact of it? And for us, when we looked into all the data, John Taylor at Business Gateway pretty much said that when we looked at our analytics, we were quite fortunate that our brand was quite a strong brand. More people were searching for us as a company rather than a generic phrase, and we were visible. So, for example, if you were Googling Plumbers Edinburgh, we were nowhere to be seen. But people that seen our vans or knew the company and Googling Celsius Plumbers Edinburgh, that's what was kind of keeping us going. So very thankful for Business Gateway, and yeah, we're still recovering, but as I said, we're now seeing signs of the recovery, and never want to be in that position again. It was pretty stressful.
Okay, that's I think, yeah, people are asking us questions around this. So if you are hacked, are you liable if criminals access your customer data? Just a quick one.
Well, I think you are personally. I think you're supposed to report it as well to the information commissioning officer. So that was a big thing for us, really. That was one of the first things at the forefront. And
that's
again,
one of the first things that you have to do is report it to the ICO.
You do, yep, you do, and we've got the right people on our team now, and we're directed, because at the end of the day, I'm running a plumbing business. I'm not an expert in cybersecurity. You could be running a hairdresser's or anything like that, and you just need to get the right people on board. And there is help out there. There is definitely help out there. It's just asking for it, and you'll be surprised what you can access, and then things that you've maybe not even thought about before. Just that things like, I never ever had access to my own website. I never had an admin login to my own website. How do I get into this? Or have you got a fail safe? What happens if your web developer gets run over by a bus tomorrow? Do you have like a backup copy saved somewhere on a hard drive that you can access to then pass over to another web developer potentially? These are all questions that I was getting, and I was honest saying, I really don't know the answers, but I want to find out. So Business Gateway helped. Scottish Enterprise were able to help out with that as well. And then we just asked the right questions, and we made sure we got the answers we wanted. So now we're in a far better position than we were at the start of the year.
Perfect. And Mike,
can I just come in there? Can I just come in? I was just going to say, Michael's hit the nail on the head there. He's taken, he's grabbed the bull by the horns, as I told in a second. I need to suss out what's going on here. I spoke to a couple of people that I've been out for drinks with here and there, who are business owners and bosses, and said, here, have you thought about Cyber Essentials, or what about this? And some their people are still passing it off as not, or bosses are still passing it off as not their problem. I've got an IT company that manages that, and they would know nothing about passwords. They would do nothing about who's accessing this, how they would get access to the website. And just that sort of taking a step back, we're asking, or we personally think that bosses should be taking a step forward and saying, hold on a second, I need to lead from the top down here, and I need to have a good cyber culture within the company, rather than just thinking, well, it's someone else's problem or it's someone else's business. Because when it goes wrong, all eyes will be looking on them.
So just to kind of sum us up, where do people go to better understand their online security? What support is there? So we've mentioned Business Gateway and Scottish Enterprise. Where should people go? So is it the Cyber Essentials course? Is that what we think after this everybody should go off and do?
So they can find all the links via CyberScotland.com. We've got advice and guidance all linked in there that has been given by the partners. And we have our incident response sort of drop down as well, that they can get all their packs and their tools for that. Because I think Michael was sort of saying, he was looking to find out what they would do in that situation, who did they speak to, where did they go, and we are promoting a lot of cyber exercising, which basically takes you through these, scenarios that you might come under as a business, and you can really go through those types of questions in advance and prep what you would do, and who to call and where to go to seek your support should that event take place. So again, these are other kind of free resources that are all linked on Cyber Scotland under the different headings. So I would go there, and then obviously you can go to Scottish Business Resilience Centre. We can help signpost to our cybersecurity companies that can take you through Cyber Essentials and get that certification as well. We can link you.
So if somebody did get hacked, the first thing they should do is head to cyberscotland.com and look at the actual drop down for their specific issue and do the next steps on that.
So if they're getting hacked, what they can do is phone the helpline. I'll let Mike actually explain it, because he runs this helpline rather than me.
Yeah, so the two parts to incident response is actually before, hopefully you don't phone, is that you have a plan in place beforehand. So there is the plans that Kirstie spoke about, even setting up some playbooks. And if a micro or very small business, it might just be a case, it's a number of contact numbers on who to phone when something goes wrong. But if that's saved on your computer and you've got no access to any computer or any email, then you're stuffed on who it is that you can contact. Bigger companies might have playbooks, for example, and it may be the case, you mentioned cyber insurance, it may be the case that their cyber insurance company will allocate an incident response, but we also manage an incident response cadre, companies in Scotland, specialists who will support a business through a cyber incident. So yeah, I would say have a plan as well as another good rule, is just to understand what escalation looks like, who should I contact, how do I contact them, and where can I get help.
Perfect. Well, that's us at 2 o'clock, guys. So if people could do one thing today, what should they do? What should everybody go and do right after this call? Is it changing password?
Turn on two-step verification is mine.
Okay, I'll go have a plan.
My plan.
I say pick up the phone to Business Gateway and put in touch with a Business Gateway advisor to try and get help through Digital Boost.
Perfect. That's great. Well, like we said, everything has been recorded, so anybody attending can go back and watch the recording again. And like you said, there is a helpline that people can phone if they are the victim of a cyber attack in the unlikely event. Perfect. Well, thank you so much for giving us your expert advice and insights today. That was really interesting.
Thanks for having us.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity to speak. Thank you.